Painkillers are more effective if they're red, okay? Sleeping pills are more effective if they're blue. There's a big difference to the placebo effect if you give people 3 small pills rather than 1 big one. But let's take this a bit further. Wine tastes better if you pour it from a heavier bottle. Wine tastes better if you tell people it's expensive. Painkillers are more effective if they're branded. And painkillers are more effective if you tell people they're expensive. Now, interestingly, Nurofen in Australia got into trouble because they sold a whole range of variants of Nurofen, including Nurofen for period pain, and I think there was Nurofen for colds and flu, which were chemically and pharmacologically identical to standard Nurofen, but they charged a premium for them. Making someone pay more for a drug that says for period pain, whether you like it or not, will make that more effective at treating period pain than if you take the generic Nurofen at the ordinary price.
Okay, so does the color affect perceived effectiveness of medication? And the answer is absolutely yes, and this is very well documented. So according to a study, red, orange and yellow are perceived as stimulating. They are good for pain relief, energy and alertness. Blue, green and purple, they are perceived as calming. So they are very good for sleep and anxiety. A very famous study, 1982, showed patients rated red pills as energizing and blue pills as calming, even though they were inert. And it's also true that 3 small pills are more effective than 1 large pill. Not chemically, but psychologically. And regarding the branded medicines, there was actually a study in 2008 at MIT. Found participants reported better pain relief from a pill labeled at $2.5 than one labeled at 10 cents, even though both were placebos. So, branded products, even when chemically identical, consistently score higher scores in patient satisfaction. This also reminds me one study at Stanford actually, when they gave 2 groups of people 2 identical cheese, and the first one was labeled as farmhouse artisan cheese and the second one was labeled as processed cheese. And the result, the artisan version was rated higher on taste, texture and quality, even though both came from the same bulk pack. And regarding the Nurofen story in Australia, which is true, and here are more details. So in 2015, Rakit Painkillers, makers of Nurofen, were fined $6 million Australian dollars. They sold Nurofen for period pain, Nurofen for migraine pain, migraine, at higher prices, even though the active ingredient was the same across all variants. The court ruled this as misleading conduct under consumer law. Technically and by law, this might be misleading, but on the other hand, if the placebo works, should they have been fined for $6 million? Personally, I would never punish anyone for being psychologically right.